The Casey look.
Yeah. Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom. This is Shot Science Overtime number 114. And we're going to do what we do every Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Is we're going to have our live show where we started off by talking about a topic that we think is going to help you guys develop your game, make you a better basketball player, maybe give you some insight that might take you to the next level. And while we're doing that, you guys are going to be sending us your questions related to anything basketball. It can be on shooting, dribbling, passing, defense, rebounding, talking to your coach, developing your athleticism, vertical jump, whatever it is. Send us your questions, and we will try to get to as many people as we possibly can in the chat. And also, you can send them to us on Twitter, which is the best place to reach us because we can just pull that up on our phones. So we're at Shot Science there. You can also send them to us on Facebook, Google Plus, on the Q&A app here in Google Plus, wherever, and we will try to get to as many of those as possible. And we're Shot Science on all that stuff. Snapchat, Instagram, follow all that stuff. And while we're doing this topic, you guys will be sending us those questions. And if you could please also tell your friends and family to watch the show, that helps us as well because it'll help us do this more, get great guests on, and just grow Team Shot Science. That's what we want to do. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about our topic, which is 3 box out tips for rebounding that we think are going to help you guys, because we watch, it's epidemic in the NBA. It's not great in the college game, and in high school, it's pretty hit or miss as well. So when we're talking about rebounding, it's not just turning around and running after the ball. There's kind of some things that you can do to increase the chances that you will get the ball, increase the chances that the other team will not get the ball, and kind of set you up and your teammates up, if they're doing this too, to be the ones that recover, off of a missed shot. So what are some things that people can do?
Well, in simplicity, to make it just very simple to start with, when you see that there is a shot going to be taken, what you need to do first is locate the person that you're going to be blocking out or boxing out.
And that's typically the guy that you're guarding.
Yeah, but when you're playing against a zone, oftentimes then they're not matched up man-to-man, and so then you have to locate that person to be able to block them out. And so it kind of depends on we're playing man or zone defense.
Right.
Okay, so location is really important. And so the next thing that you have to do is to immediately read that defender or that rebounder and determine where he's going or she is going. And then what we think is an important way to go about this is make that same step in that same direction first, and then go ahead and make your turn on them and keep them behind you. So those are kind of the simplistic parts of blocking out.
Well, I think also that we should talk about a little bit about the seal when you're trying to block people out. And, people call it blocking out or boxing out.
Yeah.
Different terminology, same thing.
Yeah, it is.
But when you locate that guy, you need to, or girl, whoever it is, you need to make sure that you are actively going after them, but anticipating where they're going as well. Yeah. And when you get to them, you want to take your foot and essentially put it right in the middle of their body and do kind of a seal step into them, right?
Yep.
As you turn. And when you turn, you're going to make sure that you are getting your elbows out like this. Because when you have your elbows out like this, it's obvious that you're not grabbing them. Because if you have your arms out and you're doing this, that's obviously going to be called as a foul. But if you have your elbows out, then you're not doing anything to manipulate them with your hands.
Well, there's another real plus, 2 pluses to that.
Well, I was not finished with it.
Okay, go ahead.
The other thing is that it makes you wider, so it's harder to get around you. And the other thing is that your elbows they don't feel good when you get those into people. They just do not feel good.
Yeah.
And so guys, try to get around that, and it doesn't feel so great when you have those in them. So it's very difficult for them to get around you.
And if they are trying to get around you, you make sure that you use a little short crab steps to keep them behind you. And, like Casey's saying, having those elbows out makes you a lot wider, and you can kind of control that person who's trying to get around you. Now, one of the other things that I think is really important is I always want to have rebounders with their hands up and their elbows out. an awful lot of times you will see defender. Now, I don't see this so much on the college level, but in high school, they've got their hands down and their hands are wrapped around that person behind them. And the person is trying to get around, and that's holding. And it isn't really called very much. But one of the reasons that I think it's important to have the elbows up, besides controlling that person behind you, is that your hands are closer and quicker to the basketball when you're going to rebound it. So I think that's an important part of all that rebounding as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about being kind of ready and prepared and having to do less steps.
Yeah.
Because for us, one of the major things about anything that we teach is to have efficiency.
Yeah.
And when you're doing things from a logical progression, it makes more sense. If you have your hands down, obviously that doesn't make as much sense because you're going to get called for a foul. It's basically holding, and it takes forever to get your hands up. Whereas if you had your hands up to begin with, then you're going to be in better shape because it's less distance they have to go, and you're also in a more athletic kind of stance anyways.
Yeah, one of the things too that's real important is that you make contact with the person that you're blocking out, and they'll kind of help you because they're pressing to try and get toward the basket.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, because we always talk about, or most people always talk about, creating space.
Yeah.
And if you create space as the guy that's trying to get past you and get the rebounder or get the rebound, then they're going to have the advantage.
Yes.
But if you are the one closing that space, then you are gaining the advantage because you don't have to look at him and you know where he is and he's sealed behind you.
And you can feel him with those elbows if he's starting to slide around you. Okay, so that's really important. You know, I'm going to take it back up for just a second, Casey, and add a couple of things that we kind of talked about a few minutes ago. And that is this, is that rebounding situations are a little different. Let's talk about man defense or man-to-man or person-to-person defense. We don't want to leave the girls out of this at all, but what we're talking about is man-to-man or girl-to-girl or whatever. All right, so when we're playing in a man defense, when the shot is taken from one side of the floor versus the other, the block out or boxing out techniques are a little different than they are when you are on the help side and doing the same thing. One of the things that happens for us is that you're closer, and when you're on the ball side, you're closer to your player, and so it's easy enough to block them out there. When you are on the other side, usually your player is stretched out and away from you.
Because you're in help side defense.
You're in help side defense. And so one of the things you want to not do is this, is just turn, excuse me, turn and take a box out position and hope that you'll get them, because they will run right by you because you can't see them.
I want to tell people, if you watch some of the NBA games, like right now, the Rockets and the Clippers are playing right now. If you watch some of those games, you will see that guys, essentially the shot goes up, and a lot of those guys, they just turn to the basket and look at it.
Yeah.
Like there's no box out anything going on.
Right.
And that's not what you should be doing.
Right.
Because if you want to be an active rebounder, this is really how you get it done.
Yeah, and you get a lot more rebounds because of it too.
And you don't have to be the 7-foot guy.
No,
I mean, you can be the 6-foot guy that boxes out the 7-foot guy and gets the rebound because you're doing all of these things.
Right. Well, okay, so let's get back to what I was talking about, ball side. Okay, ball side is what we talked about that a while ago in the essence. But if you're on the help side, one of the first things you have to do is you have to take and step in the direction of the person that you're supposed to be blocking out. Maybe it's man-to-man, and so you've got that person. Or if in a zone, you find that person that's closest to you, and you have to make a step toward them. Now, that's kind of difficult because now you're turning away from the ball. You don't know where the rebound is going to go. It takes about 2 seconds for the basketball to get to the goal. If you're shooting from the free throw line, 15 feet, it takes about 2 seconds. Okay, and so during that time, you make a step in the direction of the person that you know you're going to be blocking out. And at that time, you're reading or assessing what they're doing. And if they take and make a step toward the baseline, let's say, then you know that that's where they're going. And now we have to get ready to make contact with them some point because they're going to close that space. If you turn and look at them and they make no move for the basket, you immediately turn to the basket and look to rebound. But if you can see them coming, you need to step out and get a body on them and make that turn, as Casey was talking about just a moment ago, and get them on your butt and stay low, elbows out and hands up.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that when you're doing that box out, block out, and you're down and you're rebounding, you have them on your back and there's contact and you have your elbows out because you're trying to get, keep your body wide. if you are keeping your butt into them and you're keeping that, you're kind of pushing their center of gravity down. And so when they try to jump, it's going to be impossible for them to get any height off of their jump.
If you've got your butt into their legs.
If you've got your butt into them.
Yeah.
And you see it all the time. If you actually get a good block out, the guy goes up and it's like he's got nothing there. And then he's also jumping over you too, which is, you know, a really great scenario for you to get a foul call because he's going over the back. So, you know, these are all things that are setting you up to have the advantage instead of them, you know, instead of it being a 50-50 thing where you're just turning around to go rebound and they're doing the same thing.
Right.
You know, you are trying to actively get the best positioning and set them up to have the disadvantage. So these are important things, and it takes a little bit of work too.
Yeah, it does. It does. And it takes a certain mentality to get into it, because oftentimes players are not used to all that body contact, particularly younger ones, and they don't really get it right away. But as soon as you kind of get it down, you realize that you can control that other person. That's really awesome.
Okay.
Now, hang on. Don't go away here. What if you get caught behind that person? Let's say you're on the shooting team and
you
get hung up.
This is a different scenario. Let's stop
Okay.
there, and
right.
maybe we'll talk about that after this next part. Okay. So we had the first tip was locate your man.
Yep.
The second tip was close the gap and block out.
Right.
Box out, whatever you want to call it. The third tip is going to be what? So you got the guy boxed out, blocked out.
Yeah.
What do you do now?
You attack the basketball.
Right.
And one of the things that people kind of fall into this little gap is that they will not necessarily go after a ball that's not coming right to them. They're reluctant to go after it and attack it. And as a result, oftentimes the ball falls into other people's hands. You could have taken that away. Happened to have had a guy that we worked with a bunch several years ago, and he could do that. He would see where the ball was going, and we talked a lot about rebounding and where the ball goes based upon where it was shot from, what the ball is going to do if it's a flat shot or a high shot or a high arc shot. And so he was able to just go attack rebounds, and he did. And, you know, he'd come up with 10 or 12 rebounds a game just because he was so aggressive and going after the basketball.
Well, that's what I was going to say. There's attributes of an actual rebounder.
Yeah.
And some of those are being able to read the shot. We call it reading the rebound. We actually have a video on that, so you guys can go check that out. But just reading a rebound, depending on how the ball is flying through the air and kind of where it's shot from on the court and all that stuff. There's different things that you can kind of take from being able to look and see what's going on. So I would say reading the shot, reading the rebound, and then going after the ball, because you know a lot of guys, they just sit there and they wait and they think if the ball falls in their wherever their kind of territory or quadrant is, then that's their rebound.
Right.
That's not true ever. And just kind of having the tenacious mentality.
Right.
But if you watch guys, if you ever had watched guys like Dennis Rodman or Charles Barkley or any of, I mean, there's a few guys playing now, but I mean, if you watch those guys, they are just animals. It doesn't matter if the ball's 20 feet away, they're going to run after that thing and grab it. And it's going to be theirs. And that's kind of what you need to approach it as.
Yeah, because, you know, here's the essence of the whole thing about boxing or blocking up. That is a ball possession that you want, that you need for your team. As you break down kind of how basketball is played, usually if the teams are fairly equal, usually the thing that determines who's going to win the basketball game is who gets the most possession during the course of the game. And those possessions can happen a lot of different ways. One of them that's really essential is the one we're talking about today, just as rebounding basketball. Because, you know, for the most part, even if you're playing against a pretty good basketball team, probably they're only going to make about 40% of their shots. Where you figure if they take 50 shots, 40% of that is they're only going to make 20. And so the rest of them are going to be rebounds of some sort or another. And the more of those that you are able to corral for your team, the more opportunities that you have to score on the other end. And so possessions, rebounds are possessions that you really need. And that's why coaches encourage so much just to attack and go get the basketball.
Yeah, I mean, they can be just as important as a steal, and they're not as difficult to do, you know. And, you know, there's a reason why guys like Charles Barkley or Dennis Rodman that are not as tall as some of these guys are able to get those rebounds. I mean, you can see somebody like Dwight Howard, he's 7 feet tall. He's going to get a ton of rebounds just because where he is on the court and how tall he is. I mean, that's just basically what's going to happen. Andrew Bogut, Shaquille O'Neal did it. All of these guys, these 7-foot guys, they're just going to get a ton of rebounds. But if you're the guy that's 6 inches shorter, 7 inches shorter, if you have kind of these attributes in place, if you know kind of the mechanics of how to block out and box out, you have the mentality, you have the ability to read and kind of react to that stuff, then you will be the person that can get the same amount of rebounds as that huge guy, even though you're giving up all of these physical attributes.
Yeah, there's another thought that kind of comes to my mind. We use this term, and we use it kind of often, and that is read. When we're talking to basketball players and we say, okay, you want to read this and understand how you're going to respond to it. That term really means that you're looking at what is happening in front of you and you're making a determination what they are doing. That's reading. And that is going to draw a certain response from you. So you read and respond. And so that's an important concept, not only in rebounding, but just in basketball in general, of what you need to do.
Okay, so we're going to stop it right there. Our 3 tips for you guys are locate, close out and box out.
Yeah.
Read and react.
Yeah. Read and react. Yeah. Read and react.
Attack the rebound.
Yeah.
So, hopefully we'll have a video on that sometime soon. We do have the monster rebound drill that we highly suggest you guys go check out. Yeah. If you want to see more rebounding stuff, let us know. I think that maybe the topic that you were talking about, the offensive rebounding scenario, might be something that we cover at a later time. So if you guys want to see that, let us know that. But today we just wanted to kind of talk about kind of defensive rebounding and the box out,
right?
Because that's, I think, something that go watch the NBA playoffs right now. You'll see most of the guys, they just turn and look at where the ball is going, and if it comes their way, that's great. If not, I mean, there's a few guys out there that will actually do these things, but typically that's not the way it plays out. So if you can be that person, it will give you a huge advantage. So that's why we wanted to share with you guys, right?
That's good. Yep.
Okay. So let's jump into our questions, our Q&A for today. If you guys have questions, make sure you send them to us either here in the chat on the YouTube stream, or you can send them to in the Q&A app here on Google+. The best place is on Twitter, where we are at Shot Science, and we will get to everybody on Twitter. So if you want to send us the Twitter questions right now, that would be the best place. But we're going to jump right in right now. Let's see. This one is from Dark Cakey, who says, Coach, I've lost all my passion for basketball. I used to always box out no matter how outsized. I'm 5'8". I would die for a ball and always played for a team. I used to have hustle. Where did that go? I mean, that's a very personal thing. I don't know.
It is. And probably you're in a position to answer that more than we might be able to do that. Sometimes people play and kind of lose their passion for the game, and they get interested in other things. But for us to tell you what the reason for it is, I don't really know.
I would say you have to kind of evaluate this a little bit more than what you may be doing.
Yeah.
Are you just frustrated with the way things are going? Do you need to kind of change up the way that you practice and kind of put in work for developing yourself? Do you need to play for a different team or go to a different area? I mean, maybe you're just kind of frustrated or tired of what your scenario is right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or if you don't like basketball anymore, that's okay too.
Yeah.
Everybody has different interests.
Well, and that's oftentimes the case. Some people find they have more of an interest in something else, and maybe it's not even athletic. Maybe it's in music or art or something like that. And so they lose that passion for basketball. It's not that they don't like the basketball anymore. It's just that it's not as important maybe in their view. One of the things here, I noticed that Preston Ellard here says, I feel your pain. I had this problem too. Then I realized that not having passion, I turned it into laziness, and then noticed that I was hindering my team and not just myself. That is a great call. That really explains kind of, I think, where all that passion went, is that it's not there anymore. It went maybe in some other direction.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you need to figure this out for yourself, but there are some things that you can do. And like we said, it can be just some tweaks to the way you practice, changing what teams you play on. Maybe you're frustrated with the guys you play with. Who knows?
Yeah.
But But
things change for you in a lot of different things. People who go on in their life and maybe they're involved being an engineer. And in fact, I was reading something about this the other day. This guy had a master's degree in mechanical engineering, but he became an arborist. He dealt with trees and stuff like that. So his passion went from one thing to another, and that happens a lot. And so it's not just something unusual that you maybe lost that passion.
Yeah,
it may come back.
I mean, like I said, there's things that you can do to change things up. Who was the player this year? Was it Larry Sanders? I think he was the guy that decided that basketball was something that wasn't important enough for him right now because he has some other things that he's dealing with in his life.
Yeah.
That's fine too. You are not obligated to do anything that you don't want to do, especially when it comes to a hobby or a sport or something like that. If it's not for you, then it's not for you. That's totally okay. And some people don't like to hear that, but whatever.
Yeah,
you're you get to live your life.
Yeah.
Let's see. This one's from Donovan Russell. He says, "Hey coach, I'm currently 17 and 6'3" forward. I am wanting to change to a guard. What is some advice you could give to me? Thanks." Okay, we deal with this every week.
Yeah, we do.
What is our thoughts on this?
Well, one of the things that's so important is that, setting yourself up to play a specific position actually limits maybe what your parameters might be as you go down the line. Now, here you are, you're 17, and maybe you end up going to college someplace and you're 22 years old and you've spent all this time trying to be play this one spot, and there's 4 guys ahead of you. It's not likely to be 4 ahead of you, but you haven't got the ability because you never worked on your skills to be able to do these other things. You're kind of limited to that particular spot. And so our whole push on all of this is that, first of all, you learn how to be a really good basketball player. And that means
versatile basketball player.
Yeah, versatile. And versatility comes from the fact that you can do a lot of different kinds of things.
You got all the tools in your tool belt.
Yeah. If let's say you're playing a forward. I went and watched one of my students play yesterday. In fact, I spent the whole day watching a whole bunch of them play. But one thing that I noticed about this young man, he was he called himself a 4. And he was a 4 who had a foot nailed down, and he very seldom ever moved from that position. And so we had a little break, and I'm sure his coach wouldn't have been excited to hear me say this to him, but I said, you have to move. You can't just have this one spot on the floor where the coach has pointed out that's where the 4 is supposed to be.
Well, you make yourself super easy to defend.
Well, yeah, you could defend him with somebody that was blind because you're never going to have to look for him. But the thing is that we talked about how you have to move. Take and move from one side of the floor, flash the middle, step up and screen somebody. And so when you have the ability to do different kinds of things, especially if you can do things with the basketball.
Well, here are my thoughts. And I know they're the same as yours, is that you open a lot of doors when you're able to do a lot of things.
That's right.
If you look at the guys that are very successful basketball players that maybe don't have the attributes of some of these super athletic guys or whoever, like somebody like Steve Nash, maybe Chris Paul,
Sure.
Even those would be 2 great examples, but there's tons of examples that we could talk about. But these are guys that are point guards, but they aren't playing classic point guard positioning.
Sure.
They're able to score from mid-range. They're able to attack the basket. They're able to distribute the ball. They're able to post up. They're able to shoot free throws. They're able to play defense. Steph Curry would be another person like
Right.
that. But these are people that they didn't go into it thinking, okay, I'm just a point guard. That's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to pass the ball and I'm going to, set up the offense. That is the worst mentality to have. When you are a basketball player, you want to say, okay, I'm a basketball player. I'm going to be able to do everything. Mm-hmm. If you're a point guard-ish body type, you should be able to play in the post. You should be able to post up. You should be able to shoot free throws. You should be able to do all those things. If you're a post player, you should be able to bring the ball up the floor. You should be able to handle the ball. You should be able to shoot from the perimeter. You should be able to, play defense. You should be able to make free throws. If you can do that, you can play at any position. And if you end up on a team that's loaded with forwards or perimeter players, then maybe there is a chance that you would play a guard or something like that. Or maybe there's a chance that you would have to play inside. Who knows? But you've at least got the opportunity where you can play. You're not the guy sitting the bench because there's 2 dudes ahead of you.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Now, let me answer Donovan's question here.
Okay, we got to hurry because we're
Yeah, I know. And you wanted to know what you needed to do to become a guard. Well, we've talked about that. But here's the thing that's most important for you to remember. If you take and develop good skills facing the basket, which means that you can put the ball on the floor, you can shoot from the perimeter, you can attack from the perimeter. Those are going to be important things, and you make good decisions. Those are going to be things that coaches note. Now, nothing would make a coach happier if he could afford to have one of his bigger players step away and play at the point position. And you make that kind of an easier decision for him if you can do all these other things because you've spent the time getting better, being not a forward and not a post, but being a really talented basketball player.
Well, I think also basketball is tending to move away from the classic 1 through 5 positions anyways. You know, a lot of it is becoming more fluid, and, you know, they're stretching out the floor. Big guys are doing more of what classically was done by perimeter players. I just think that don't set yourself up to be the guy that gets kind of lost in the shuffle because you have just pigeonholed yourself.
Yeah.
Make sure you are a versatile basketball player.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, let's stop there.
We could go on forever on that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one is from APOC, who says, how can I get better second chance points after getting the rebound? It's always been hard for me to put the ball back up when I'm so close to someone under the basket. Thanks, coach. Okay, there's several things.
All right.
The first thing that I think is extremely important, and you see the opposite is done typically, especially with younger guys, and that is keeping the ball high, keeping the ball up.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, hold on, let me get this ball here. A lot of times guys will go up, they'll get the rebound, and they'll bring it down. And this is where hand land is, and all the little guys are down here, and they're smacking the ball, and you've essentially just exposed it to the other team, right? Yep. So if you get the rebound, you got it here, don't bring it down, go straight up, because you've essentially cut out where all the hands are, and you've also made yourself more efficient because you're not bringing it down doing this extra motion, and you're just getting it here and going straight up with the ball. And that actually works way better than you think it will.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things that happens out of that same scenario is using an up fake and pausing for just a moment. And some people, they take that up fake and then they go right away. Well, the person that they're trying to fake to get up hasn't even left the floor yet, and so they're still able to block you.
Yeah,
and
take your time.
We like to use this little timing device that we picked up from Point Guard College, and that is what's up. And we take the basketball and we teach our students is that we give the up fake, and then we pull it down and what's up, and then we go.
Well, you don't pull it down. It's
no, it comes right down to where your starting point.
Yeah,
here to here, and then you say to yourself, "What's up?" And by the time you've said that, now they've jumped and they're probably ready to settle, and now you can go finish the shot.
Right.
Okay. Now that's a couple of ideas.
Hold on, but the other thing is that when you do a shot fake, it is not.
No, it's not a dip fake.
It is right here, and it's a head fake like that with the ball.
Right. We like to teach our players on those fakes as
the ball moves that much.
That takes the ball from our chin to about our hairline, which is about like that. As what happens is that if we take that big high fake like this, and then we come down, so much time has elapsed that when we're ready to go, they're all over us.
And you've exposed the ball.
Yeah.
And it actually doesn't look as convincing as that little short thing either.
Yeah. And so that's important. Now, we have something that we encourage our players to do, and that is to use the mic and drill. Oftentimes, let's say you go up and get a rebound and you've got it, there's a big behind you, and we like to encourage them to up fake and then use the mic and step to the opposite side of the basket. That works really well too.
Right. Okay. So let's get one that's a newer one. This one is from Jack Tang is asking us several questions about what's the best shooting drills for 3-pointers. So I guess he's trying to develop his long range shooting. This is another one we get all the time.
Yeah.
And our best answer to that is really it's the practice that you put into it and consistent practice. But the way that you develop your shooting range is using the form shooting drill. And you can see that video on our channel. And what we think is that you start in close and you kind of progressively move yourself back. So you master that zone that's 2 feet away from the basket. And after you've mastered that, you just take a step back, you master that, take a step back, master that. And it might take you, several days or a week to do that, but you're going to move back and you're going to keep your mechanics in place where they need to be while developing kind of the coordination and the strength and all that stuff that goes into being able to shoot those longer shots. If you just work on the close shots and then you step back to the 3-point range, your shooting mechanics are just going to totally degrade and fall apart.
Yep.
You'll start heaving, and all of the fine tuning stuff that goes into having an accurate shot goes out the window. So you have to put the work in, but if you progressively move yourself back, you're going to find that your shooting is going to develop much better as you move away.
Right. And you're asking for drills. I mean, those can be pretty
form shooting drill.
Well, the form shooting drill to get yourself going for sure. But if you're just wanting to shoot from a drill for shooting behind the 3-point line, that's not rocket science.
Right. Form shooting drill. Right.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I had a moment there where I thought there was
okay.
a sound I didn't recognize.
Let's see here. This one is from Mr. Pranker247, who says, I want to get stronger and hit the weight room so I can play varsity. I'm a freshman, 14 years old. Should I start lifting now or am I too young? Okay. I think this is a misconception that many people have, and it's that if they start working out and go to the weight room, that suddenly all of these things are going to start happening and they're going to be a better basketball player and they're going to be able to do all these things. That doesn't happen. If you are trying to, go into the weight room, put on all this strength and weight and stuff, it doesn't come easy, number one. And number two, it's going to take up a ton of time. And number three, it's going to take a ton of recovery time for your body every time you go into the weight room to do that stuff. And number four, I mean, you are a young person. You don't need to be doing that stuff. Yeah. Here is really the approach that's better. Is spend that time working on developing your skills, because your skills will take you so much farther than any kind of strength or bulk that you develop. Mm-hmm. And you can see that in people like Kevin Durant, these guys that are just kind of they're not like built guys. They're kind of slender, slim guys. They get by because they have so much skill developed, and that will take you so much further than the time that you spend in the weight room. So spend that time developing your skills. If you want to work on your conditioning, that's something that's different. So that would be kind of developing just your ability to exert over long periods of time, and also on your athleticism. That stuff's great. So body weight stuff, doing kind of the things that we talk about in the vertical jump videos and the handbook that we have. Just working on coordination and footwork, all of that stuff is great.
And to answer his last question, or am I too young? You're too young. If you're going to get into that, you want to take and do that when you get to be 16, 17 years old.
It's just unnecessary. And people think that going to the weight room is going to make a huge difference. It's not. I think that it mostly will help guys that are 18, 19 years old, that are going in and they're playing kind of college level basketball, where those type of bodies are more necessary.
Well, they're mature bodies too.
Yeah. And so many people, I see this all the time on the internet and even in person. They're guys that are spending, an hour and a half, 2 hours in the gym, and they're 14, 15 years old. It really is not going to help you that much. And I did that, and it doesn't help you that much. I think that if you spend your time on your skills, it's going to take you so much further. And if you don't like to hear that, tough. Let's see. This one is from, let's work with Andre's question here. This is Andre Vela. He's saying, hey coaches, my team's having real problems in training. I honestly feel like I'm the only one concentrating. They mess around when the coach is talking and they just shoot and stuff. This really annoys me because we are doing really badly. What is something I can do or say to keep them on track? Love the show, and thanks if you answer. Thanks for watching. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, this is something that you will run into probably a lot if you continue to play basketball, is there's always going to be the screw off, goof off guys. Number one thing I will say is that you have no control over what those guys do.
None. And you put yourself in some jeopardy if you started to be the disciplinarian. You let the coach do that.
Yeah. I think that you can set examples. You can be the leader. You can show effort and initiative and do all these things, but you don't want to do it out of disgust or anger or because you're pissed off or anything like that. Just be that guy that is setting the example, kind of showing leadership qualities. I think that is really the best way to approach it. If you're just constantly ragging on people, then they're going to do the opposite of what you want them to do.
Yeah,
right.
That's true. Yeah. Well, there's a note here from somebody else, and the note essentially says that's the coach's responsibility.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And it is. And if they don't take that responsibility and require that there's some discipline and attention and all that, then there's not much you can do about that. And that's just a weakness in that particular coach from what I can see. The thing that is really important is that if you're trying to teach somebody how to do something and they are off doing other things, you have to get their attention some way or another and hold it. And sometimes that's discipline. For me, I have kind of a loud voice. And if I find that that's going on, I get after people right away. And I make it really uncomfortable for them. And usually they'll come right around. Guys be guys. You get at practice and things sometimes get a little boring and all of that. And then you want to take and you start goosing your other buddy here or pushing somebody. That's the coach's responsibility. He needs to take charge of that right away. Where are those other replies here?
Well, they're right here.
Okay.
But I think that the key is that you should stay kind of focused on what you're doing, stay focused on setting leadership kind of qualities out there and kind of being the go-to person on the team. And if you do have a conversation with your coach, you just need to make sure that it's not about you and you're just saying, hey coach, I think that the practices are kind of getting away from us. We need to kind of set a better principle or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that guys are kind of losing concentration and it's not really benefiting us. Maybe we could try something new, or I don't know. That's a tough conversation to have with your coach.
Well, it is, but it may wake the coach up a little bit too. And here's one of my players that's telling me about a situation that I should have taken care of some time ago. And so I think it's okay as long as you don't put yourself in a situation where you are kind of correcting the coach, making him look bad. But if you just go to him, coach, this has been a problem that's been on my mind for a while. And one of the things that is, some of these guys are screwing around, and when they're screwing around, they draw other people in, and we haven't got people who are really focusing on what we're trying to get done.
Well, one thing that really works too is just positive feedback when people are doing things that you want them to do. So if you see a guy out there who's typically screwing around doing whatever they do, and they do something positive, like they're playing really hard on defense, or they're playing, they get a great steal, or they do something great in this drill, be like overly congratulatory to that person and make them feel super about that. And you'll find that people kind of turn around and start responding. And that's how they want to feel all the time, instead of just being the guy that's goofing around.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, lots of things that you can do there. But good luck, and hopefully that turns around for you. Here's one from William Aerosmith, and this is more of a comment. He was saying, that moment when I was 5'8" and was center, under 18 basketball, facing off against 6'5" guys, yet I would destroy them in the post and boxing out situations.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, if you use good footwork and you have all these mechanics set in place using box outs and even post moves and stuff, you will neutralize the fact that you give up 8 inches to people.
Yep.
Right? Let's see. This one's from Jason Daly, who says, hey, coach, in your opinion, what would you say is the most effective way of getting past a defender whose feet are squared up when they are guarding you? Thank you. I would say that it really depends. You have to read what they're going to react to, right?
Yep. And
so you can use things like the jab step,
right,
shot fake, and then read where they are in relation to you. If they're super up close on you, all up on you, then you got to go.
Yeah.
If they're playing off of you, you got to shoot.
It's pretty much that simple. And, the thing that I think is you have to make that defender make a commitment to what you want to do, to see what he's doing. Like Casey mentioned, you use the jab step, use that jab step and see how he responds to it. If he steps in that direction, you can actually recover and step in the opposite direction real quick, and you go right by him. One of the things that probably is underused today in basketball, two things that are really underused in basketball. One of them is the jab step and how it's used, and the other is shot fakes and how they're used. If you take and listen to Coach Bobby Knight, one of the things that he talks about is the fact that shot fake is a lost art in basketball today, because you can actually get that defender to commit to your shot if you have an effective shot fake. One of the things that I see often with young players is that this is their shot fake right here. Or they'll go like this and throw the head back and throw the arms way up in the air. That's not effective, because what you want to do is get that player really to stretch out. You want them to stretch out that arm and contesting the shot, and to straighten the legs. And when they do that, they are then set up for you to go by them. And so there's no secret that you can really use to get by those people. But if you've got a few of those little things like shot fake, jab step, and in the jab step being able to go right and go left, go fake right, counter left. That all is really good stuff.
There is no specific one thing that you would do with a guy that's playing good, squared up defense to you.
Well, there is something that we teach everybody, and that is the long one-on-one attack.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, like, if you're facing a guy and there's no general, thing that he's doing. I mean, you have to read all of those different things,
Yep.
do the tests if you have to.
Yep.
I mean, there's no specific thing that you can neutralize that guy with.
No.
If he was putting a foot forward, that's a different situation,
Uh-huh.
because you attack that foot and go over the top of that foot. But in your situation or your scenario, there's no specific thing we can say. It's all those things that we just talked about.
Oh yeah, and you get good at 2 or 3 of them, and you'll be able to go by people. Plus the long one-on-one.
Okay, so here's one from Paul Alvarez. He's asking how to make more swishes.
Practice, and then practice some more. I mean, it's not like you can do it once a week for half an hour.
Diligent practice.
Every day.
Consistent practice.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about the 3 pillars of practice all the time, and I might not get into that right now, but that's kind of your approach to it.
Yeah.
There's no secret to it. You got to put in the work.
Yep.
Let's see. This one's from, excuse me, the Trader, who says, so I'm new to the channel and stuff, and it's my first time at a stream, but I do have a request. I'm 17 and playing in my school team, and I play the power forward position, but I'm not exactly the tallest man living. So any tips on how to get better at rebounding if you're shorter than your opponent? I jump pretty high, so I do get a lot of rebounds, but I want more. I want progress. So any tips? I already use the power rebound technique. Box out is not an issue and stuff. Thanks in advance. Well, if you're using those things, then you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, you are.
I think that the best thing that you can do is learning how to close out and box out and locate your man and really seal them off. But then it's a mentality thing. Once you get the mentality that you're going after everything and you're putting your body on the line to do it, then you're going to be in good shape. There really isn't too many tips other than learning how to read the shot, read the flight of the ball, kind of have some expectation for what happens when you're on certain areas of the court and the ball is shot from certain areas on the court.
Right.
I mean,
well, one of the essences that you mentioned there is that using that monster rebounding technique. Well, that is really important, and that nobody else owns the basketball. You own the basketball, and you go get it every time you get a chance. You're not going to get them all, but you get way more if you're really aggressive and attack the rebound. And you go here. I watched one of my students yesterday, and he was rebounding one-handed, and he wasn't getting anything one hand. And so at halftime, he was standing very close to me and not close to where his coach was, so he could hear what I was saying. And so I said, you know what? You need to get both hands on the rebound. Both hands on the rebound. In the second half, he gave it 6 rebounds just because he was attacking it with both hands. A one-handed rebound, if you go up and you get it, sometimes you do get it, but all it takes is just a light touch with a finger of another player, and the ball is out of your control. Attack the ball with both hands.
and get your rebound. If you do get one-handed rebound, you immediately bring it to the other hand. Okay, this one's from Dara Riley, who says, I just re-injured my knee and I'm in serious pain when I run. I'm trying out for a team and need tips to keep injury-free. Can you recommend some exercises that I could do before training and matches if I re-injure my knee again? I might miss out on the team, as I know I can make it if I stay healthy. Thanks. Okay, that is 100% something that you should be talking to your doctor about.
Yeah.
If you're in serious pain, that is not something that anybody else should be helping you with. You should not be taking advice from anybody else but your doctor. You should be rehabbing it and get to the point where you are injury free and recovered.
Well, if you don't, the other side of that coin is the fact that you may injure the knee so severely that you will be out for 8 months.
Or it'll permanently hurt you.
Or permanently.
Or here's the other thing is that you might not make a team, or you're playing for a team and you don't ever perform well ever again because you have to live through this constant nagging injury.
Yeah.
Take the time to make sure that you are healthy.
Yep.
And it might suck if you have to take a year off, but that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Go see your doctor and talk to them.
Yep.
Right.
Agreed.
Let's see. This one is Skull Finale 16 who says, "Hey coach, me again. My shooting has gotten a lot more consistent now, and my school coach is impressed. My next problem is finding a team outside of school, which is hard as the UK isn't exactly a big basketball area. Any tips?" Well, that is something that I would say either relies on you asking people that are from your area or around your town or whatever.
Well, yeah.
Or going on Google and trying to do some searches there. Maybe
if you know somebody who plays for one of those teams, you find out, would you have a chance to try out?
Yeah.
We don't have any magic answers for things like that. That's something that you kind of have to do some diligent research on your own to figure out, okay, how can I make contact? And then if you make contact and there's a little interest, then maybe your game begins to show through and get a chance to play for them.
Right. Well, here's a few thoughts that I have on that. Number one is that you guys need to be proactive in your own success.
Yep.
There is nobody that's going to do any favors for you ever. And if you get somebody that does, you just lucked out, because you should never expect anything to happen unless you make it happen. If you want to play on a team and you need to find a team, that is all on you. You need to be the guy that goes out there and does that and figures out how to make it happen. Yeah. It's the same thing if people are having problems like, I don't have a basketball court at my house, or I don't have a basket to shoot at, or it's snowing outside. That is not our problem. That is 100% your problem. And we can do as much as we can to give you some ideas and thoughts and maybe work with you to help you on that. But you need to actively be the person that's trying to figure that out. Because it's your problem 24 hours a day. It's our problem, in the short time that we have to work with you guys. And so, maybe you need to figure out, oh, okay, I can use my garage, or, oh, okay, I can go talk to the coach at the local high school. He's going to let me use the gym for this amount of time, or there's a YMCA, or whatever it is. You need to be the one that figures it out. When it comes to teams like that, that's exactly what you have to do. And
put your feelers out.
Yeah.
Talk to other people that are playing on teams.
So the research part is a big part of it,
yeah,
and getting out there. But you also want to make sure that you are joining up with the right team. Yep. And so you want to do some research on the coach. You want to do some research with some people that have played before with those people or that organization or whatever it is. Make sure that they are having your best interests in mind instead of the organization or the coach or whoever it is. And they're working on skill development, not just playing games. And so I think the other thing that you can do is go watch our live shows with Coach Bobby Bramlett and Al Grigsby and some of these other guys that help kids get into programs like that and get into college programs. But they have some really good advice on traveling teams and AAU teams and things like that.
Right. Don't know how well that would transfer over to the UK.
But it would in terms of like researching on coaches.
Researching. Yeah, that's probably true. But get your feelers out.
Yeah.
Get your feelers out.
I mean, I wish that we had the answers to every single question that you guys have. But a lot of times it's things that are they're in your hands. I mean, we can't tell you specifically, okay, you live in Ireland. Here's who to contact there. Oh, you live in Turkey. Here's who to contact there. We don't know. That's really you guys.
We just wish that we could come to the UK and be your coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. This one's from Eno Ludwig, who's saying, "Hey coaches, what is the best move for small guys to pass by big guys?"
Attack them. Most big guys can't move their feet well enough to stay in front of guys who are smaller, because usually the guys who are smaller are quicker. And so you just want to attack them, put them really on their heels. And that's the way you do that.
I mean, create space, learn how to create space.
Yeah, just go get them.
There is no secret there. And check out our offensive moves playlist. And we have so many things there that I think will help you in being able to get that to go. This one is from 06070, who says, I'm a good shooter, but I have a lot of problems in late game situations. How can I lose the pressure?
Well, what causes those problems is because you're fatigued. It kind of sounds like that. If that's the case, you got to do a better job of getting yourself in playing shape. If it's a matter of the fact that the game is moving quickly, too fast for you, then you probably need to spend more time working on game speed shooting. And that's one of the weaknesses, I think, of most younger players, is they shoot and they shoot and they shoot, but they don't spend enough time shooting at game speed, where you're coming off hard dribbles and pulling up and shooting. Those are things that you need to do to make yourself effective. And like I said, if it is a conditioning issue, then get in condition so you're in better condition in that very key point in the game.
Yeah. And going back to the conditioning thing, that is so much more important. I'm reading some of these other responses to going and lifting weights and stuff like that. Don't do that. I think that is the biggest waste of your time when you're a young person, is to do that. It doesn't matter how much bulk or muscle that you put on if you can't perform. I mean,
if you've got no skills, you could be able to press 350 pounds 20 times, but if you haven't got the skills, what's the good?
And if you spend that time that you would spend lifting weights on developing your shooting or developing your ball handling or whatever it is, you will take yourself so much further than the time that you spent bulking yourself out. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
No.
And you hear about guys that go and do that and they gain 20 pounds, 30 pounds, whatever. It's like, okay, well, what can you do with that on the basketball court? I mean, that's really what matters. Who cares that you put on all this muscle and you're so strong now? Great. How does that translate to your shooting? Can you shoot a shot? How consistent is your shooting? Can you make a free throw? I mean, there's so many things that are more important. Then we have Nikola Naumoski, who's asking several of these questions about securing defensive rebounds with box outs against big guys. Go watch the beginning of this video, because we talked about that. And essentially all of those tips go for anybody, whether they're bigger than you, smaller than you. Those are exactly what we would tell anybody to gain the advantage. Let's see. This one is from Aiden Goddard. He says, I'm 14 and going to be a freshman. I can shoot, dribble, and rebound. I'm 6 foot and a jump shooter mainly. I'm trying to make junior varsity next year. What should I work on?
Everything. One of the things that happens is so many times players go work on the wrong things. Like they just spend too much time just petting the rock. We call that petting the dog, where you just soft dribble. What you want to really do is just everything needs to be much more amped up in your preparation, and the preparation needs to be ball skills and to be shooting skills, at footwork skills.
At game speed, at game intensity. The thing is that a lot of guys go out there and they just shoot around, do kind of casual shooting around, maybe fool around with some ball handling stuff. You need to have the 3 pillars of practice in place. And we'll do the 3 pillars right now because we do them every week. The 3 pillars are: number 1, you have very diligent, concentrated work on your mechanics, where you are slowing everything down. You're breaking it all down. You're working on your form, or you're working on footwork, or whatever it is. You are just getting down to the bare bones, making sure that all of that stuff is in place, kind of slowly amping it up as you get stuff mastered. The second pillar is taking that stuff and amping it up to game speed, game intensity. So maybe you're adding in the defense, or you're just playing at that speed or intensity that you would if you were in a game, and you're mixing it up and you're working through kind of the fatigue factor. That is the second pillar. The third pillar is doing all of that stuff and applying it into actual game experience. So you're actually playing in games, pickup games, traveling team games, AAU games, school games, whatever it is. You're applying all that stuff and getting the experience of actually getting out there and using that. And so that's really how you kind of develop yourself. And you're doing that with everything, whether it's shooting, passing, dribbling, defense, conditioning, whatever it is,
everything.
You're applying that on everything. And people are always asking, what can I do to make this such and such team? Be a complete versatile player that comes in as a package. What coaches don't want is to have a guy come in and they have to invest a ton of work and effort to make them work for the team. Like, they just want a guy that comes in and is just ready to go, and they can just tell them, okay, this is what the scenario is, this is what the plays are, blah, 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 you're good. They don't want to have a guy that is a liability. Oh, well, that guy can't shoot free throws. Well, can't have him in the game during these situations, can't rely on him. Oh, he can't play defense. Well, he can go in when we're up 20, or, I mean, it's just be the guy that can do everything. That really makes you the best player. And then also go check out our video on Make the Team. And those are kind of more attributes beyond kind of your skills that will take you and make you more appealing to a coach, right? Let's see. Pau Alvarez says, thanks from Barcelona, Spain. Awesome. Thanks for watching. Johnny Justice is asking tips on shooting off a hesitation. Jamal Crawford hesitation. I don't really know what that is, but when it comes to shooting, your shot should always be the same, no matter where you're on the floor or what you just did. It should always be consistent, because when you're consistent, actually, it should be efficient, which leads to consistency, which leads to accuracy, which is buckets. So, I mean, that's really how you should approach it. If you're having to adjust stuff because of what you just did, that's not great. If you're adding hitches into your shot, that's another lack of efficiency and moving parts that can go wrong. So everything should be consistent.
Well, that and when we are teaching hesitations, and we do to everybody, because we think one of the biggest difficulties for defense is to coping with changes of speed. We never are shooting off that necessarily. What we're doing is we're trying to get the person to make a stop in response to our stop, and then we're just pushing the ball and going by them. So we're not really shooting off of that.
Right. And, the other thing too is that footwork will take you a very long way. If you have the right footwork, you'll be able to get away with a lot of stuff. And footwork into your shot is super important. So that 1-2 stop, gather footwork will take you very far, no matter what you did just before. Let's see. Let's do this one from Jeff Jang. Says, hey, coach, what are the most important character building qualities to teach your players? And we are in the lightning round because we're running out of time. The most important character building qualities to teach your players. I think that, any of the leadership qualities, effort, initiative,
sportsmanship is huge. You see so many examples of poor sportsmanship when you watch games at all levels, and I think that one of the things that just really I really like is if you knock a player down, you don't just turn and walk away from him. You go over and assist him to get up.
Doesn't matter if he's on the other team or
exactly.
not.
That's a sportsmanship thing, because it's not really, coaches like to have people really play hard and get into the other team and all of that. And I'm all for that as well. But if you knock somebody down, you accidentally hit them in the chops with an elbow. Hey, find a time when you can kind of atone for that. Hey, I didn't mean to get you with that elbow. That's sportsmanship, because it is a game. It's an intense game, but it is a game nonetheless. And so sportsmanship should be there someplace.
I think the NBA has kind of turned that into a macho thing. And like, you help up your teammate, not the other team. I think that's garbage.
It is. It is.
You'll watch some guys, like even I've seen Tim Duncan help other guys from other teams up off the ground, and Dirk Nowitzki, like kind of these more old school guys that they don't care the fact that they're trying to totally obliterate these guys on the scoreboard. They're not trying to be jerks or knock them out on the floor. That doesn't make any sense. It's not macho to just blast guys and then not help them up. That's who cares?
A perfect example of that kind of sportsmanship just flashed into my brain. I saw this the other day on the internet. It was a track contest, and I think it was a longer race, and the person who he was back 5 or 6 spots, and he went down. He fell, and and I don't know if he was hurt or whatnot, another runner came up and picked him up, and they finished at the finish line together. Now, that's sportsmanship. And really, that's such an important element of all sports that oftentimes is kind of forgotten. It has become just kind of a macho, in your face degradation of the other person rather than a sportsmanlike contest. Now, I'm not saying that you don't want to win, because, I want to win as bad as the next guy, but I think there's how you do it that is really very cool.
All right, I'm going to run through these three really quick, and then we're going to have our last one that is kind of a bigger question that I'll let you jump in on. All right. Mm-hmm. Okay, this one is from Dejun Darty, who says, "How do you improve your handles?" Practice, consistent practice. That's the only consistent, diligent practice is the only way to do it. There's no secret to it. Alexander De Jong says, this autumn I start playing basketball with a local team in the Netherlands. I don't have a lot of experience yet. Any training tips for coming summer? Work on all of your skills. Become a versatile basketball player. Get experience playing. Three pillars of practice.
Yeah, and go to our channel, our YouTube channel, Alexander, and you'll find lots of things there that will help you in getting ready.
All right. Yeah, I think we answered that one already. So let's do this last question. This one's from Derek Shanks. He says, "This is similar to another question you answered, but I have a problem. I'm a post player for my high school team, but I also have the second best shot on the team. The thing is, our school has these plays engraved in stone saying that posts never move more than 2 feet away from the block. Guards stay on the perimeter. I really want to contribute to my team by getting some shots up, but our plays just don't work that in. Coach wouldn't be too thrilled about moving from the post either."
I feel sorry for you, because you are stuck in a situation where the coach has very rigid control of what is happening on the basketball team. And, I can remember being like that when I was a younger guy. And as I've gotten older, I'm much more in favor of allowing players to play within a certain structure. If there's something that we're trying to get, because it's important for us to get this particular shot, then we're going to do that. But if we have other things that maybe you develop, because we call this jumping off the rails. One of the things that I always talk about is, and we're talking about offensive plays, is that offensive plays are choreographed movements of all the players on the team in unison, each one of them having some little part to do to create a shot or opening that we want to get. And I call that running on rails. I throw you the basketball. I go over here and set a screen. I roll down, set a screen for this person. He goes to the top. Well, what I've learned over the years is I love to have players who recognize the game to the point where they can jump off the rails and they're not predictable, and they can be able to get scores out of that. And so I know that that's an important part of how you play this game, is that there has to be options for you to be able to step off those rails and create offense.
I think too that, okay, I 100% agree. You have to play under what your coach says, and stick with that. But maybe that's a situation where you need to play other places too, and get some other experience and exposure. The other thing is that you can do things in the post that essentially make you kind of perimeter-y. Make sure you're moving without the ball, set some screens, set some back screens, flash in the post. You might get some shots up at the top of the key or at the free throw line. Use your body, get contact, send yourself the free. I mean, there's so many things that you can do that you're not necessarily as pigeonholed as you might think. But maybe it warrants a discussion with your coach. Coach, maybe I'd like to step out a little bit. Can we get maybe a play that we can do? There's things that you can do,
or just occasionally do that.
Be careful.
But occasionally do that. And if it doesn't create any harm for the team, then and maybe you get a basket out of it or whatnot, the coach may recognize that that's a situation we maybe should include that in what we're doing here so we can be effective. I don't think it hurts to maybe step out of line a little bit from time to time, because, coaches might reprimand you for it. They might call you on it, or they might say, no, nice shot.
Yeah. Okay. Last question here, because I saw it on Twitter and I forgot about it. This is from Paul Smith. He says, focus on basketball or keep playing football too. That's your decision.
That's your decision.
We can't tell you what to do on that. You have to figure out what your priorities are. And if they are for basketball, you got to go with that. If they're for football, you got to go with that. If they're for both, you got to make time. So,
and there are a lot of players who do both. So
yeah, you got to figure it out. Okay, so that's going to do it for us today, you guys. If we missed your question, it's not because we don't like you. It's because we just ran out of time. If you want to send us your questions during the week, you can find us on all of our social sites. So we're on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, Facebook. Did I say Facebook? We're on Instagram, and we are on Snapchat. You can probably find us anywhere. So make sure you're following us on all those things. We are just Shot Science on every single one of them. On Snapchat, we've been posting some drills and stuff like that, and some tips. So I suggest you guys check that out. You can also send us your questions anytime during the week. We'll try to get back to you. If you have a question that you think falls under the umbrella of one of our videos that we've already posted on our YouTube channel, it's best to post it there, because then we know where to answer it and have a better idea of how to respond to you. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, and I think we will see you guys next week, 1 p.m. Pacific time, Sunday.
Bye, guys.
Right. See you later.